Welcome to a new Draw My Life video.
The Magellan-Elcano circumnavigation is the name of the first boat trip around the Earth, which took place between 1519 and 1522. It was commanded by Ferdinand Magéllan and Juan Sebastian Elcano. The objective was opening a trade route through the west with the Spice Islands or the Moluccas in the southeast of Asia. They planned to continue Christopher Columbus' expedition to America, looking for a route between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, unknown back then. The adventure started on August 10, 1519 in Seville, Spain. From there, 5 ships went down the Guadalquivir River with 239 men towards the town of Sanlúcar de Barrameda in Cádiz, door to the Atlantic Ocean. After getting provisions, they went west, as they needed to respect the Treaty of Tordesillas, an agreement between the Kingdom of Spain and the Kingdom of Portugal. This divided the exploration of the New World between them, and according to it, the Spanish had to avoid going through Africa. The captain was an experienced sailor, the Portuguese Ferdinand Magéllan, who knew the Indies very well. The trip was very complicated. There were no navigation charts of the territory, and the maps that did exist didn't describe the route Magellan was going to follow. With more uncertainty than certainty, the sailors made it to Tenerife. They bordered Cape Verde and headed to the south. Several storms threatened with sinking the ships, but luckily they made it 2 months later to what we know today as Rio de Janeiro. In January, they went south to La Plata River in Argentina, where they expected to find a route to Mar del Sur. But since they were wrong, they had to continue through unknown territory. In Puerto San Julián, they suffered the first big setback, the wreck of one of the ships. Also, Magellan found out some sailors were planning to rise up against him. Considering that, he executed one of the leaders and left Juan de Cartagena, the captain of the ship San Antonio, on land. Months later, they decided to cross the channel of the 11,000 companions, later on called the Strait of Magellan. There, the ship San Antonio deserted at night, and the other 3 continued on a very dangerous route. After crossing the strait, the crew could do nothing but cry with joy. But the journey through the Pacific was longer than expected, and they sailed for 4 months without sighting land. They were hungry, and many got sick and died. Though the situation was critical, at least the waters were calm and favorable, so they decided to name it the Pacific. After fueling up in several islands, they went ashore in the Marianas, though they soon ran away as they were welcomed aggressively. Weeks later, they made it to the Philippines, where Magellan established a good relationship with its natives and left the mark of Christian traditions. But when they made it to the Mactan Islands, one of its kings confronted Magellan after he refused to pay the fees he was asked for. The battle got more and more complicated, and the captain died speared by the natives, leaving the expedition at a critical point. After escaping, there was only 115 survivors. As they weren't enough to sail the 3 ships that were left, they decided to burn the most damaged one and continue their route, with Juan Sebastian Elcano commanding the expedition. Trying to find the Spice Islands, they were forced to stop to fix the ships. It took them up to 5 months to finally reach the so-dreamed-about land of cloves, cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg. The unexpected break of one of the ships, Trinidad, forced them to make a difficult choice. 53 crew members were to stay at the Moluccas till it was fixed, to then go back following the same route. Meanwhile, Elcano's ship was to go back following the eastern route, breaking the Treaty of Tordesillas. The relationship between Spain and Portugal was very tense, so the ship had to sail far from the coastline in order not to be discovered. They were totally worn out and sick again, and Elcano decided to take a risk and land in Cape Verde, even though it was enemy territory. In the beginning, the Portuguese trusted them when they said they were nothing more than just sailors, but when their real identity was exposed, they ran away, terrified, leaving some men behind. Finally, by September 6, 1522, 18 sick and starving men docked in the Sanlúcar Bay, becoming the first men to ever make a trip around the world. And even though it was not their intention, they also proved that the Earth was round. 2 days later, the Emperor Charles I named Juan Sebastian Elcano a nobleman, and he gave him a shield with the spices patterns, and with the Latin motto, "the first to circumnavigate me." Even though it was a trip full of dangers, the courage of hundreds of men led to a huge feat that has gone down in history, Though this happy ending had probably been written already since the beginning, funnily enough, the only ship that made it was called Victory.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!